So let's talk about a few things here, viewers. I do have a topic that I'm going to go over today that is very common. A lot of people have wrote me in reference to this question, and but I would like to ask you guys some questions as well. First and foremost, from this point on, if you ever hear a noise that sounds like a fart, it was my dog. Yes, my dog made this little yapping or barking or whatever, and I looked at the video, and yes, it did sound like a fart, but it wasn't. However, now that I know that I can use that for an excuse, no telling where this might go from here on out. Okay, secondly, video I uploaded, I guess 2 days ago, has had an overwhelming response with my viewers. I'm averaging 250 to 350 views over a long period of time. And then I get this one yesterday, or 2 days ago, and it's already over 400 views. So it could possibly be that I need to figure out how to title these a little better to make them more deceptive to where people will click on them more. I don't want to do that though. So the title to the video the other day was what? Solution to a common problem or something. I apologize if that seemed or appeared deceptive. Was not meant to be that way. But I do feel that it was a valid point to discuss, and maybe I took it a little bit too lightheartedly or whatever. But the issue that I would like to discuss today, good Lord, child, she had that one hid. Did not know that was in there. Okay, so the issue at hand today, we're going to talk about snakes that rub or push. What can be done to possibly eliminate that problem. Well, here's the thing. Oh, this is Gabby, by the way. She is actually one that has an issue with pushing. But we know that there could be several factors with this. It could be temperatures. It could be humidity. It could be insecurities, i.e. the snake does not feel secure in its environment, and it'll continue to push to try to get out, which is a very simple issue to fix, and we'll discuss that. First and foremost, there are some of the genetic retics that do have an issue with pushing. Most of you may or may not know a super tiger is very prone to pushing or rubbing. So we have to take that into consideration as well. First thing that we want to check, temperatures. 87.2. I don't know if that's going to focus or not. So that is a good temperature to have on the hot side. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, this is a very common issue that I can almost guarantee a lot of you haven't thought about. We have a heat panel right here. Radiates heat down to the bottom. All right, for all of you guys with stacked enclosures, you have to take into consideration the heat panel on the bottom that is heating up this surface as well. Now, most of us who have stacked units, there's no space. Now, one way to avoid this is take you some PVC or even a 1x1 piece of wood that you can rip on a table saw and elevate each one in between to allow air to go through. It's still going to have some form of factor on heating the surface of this. So what I'm getting at, if you shoot a temp and it comes up 88 degrees, all right, this one's increasing because I took the windows out, which hit the probe and has put the heat panel, turned it on. Now, what if you caught that just right? The bottom one is heating the floor. You know, this heat panel here is heating the floor of this and does not allow this to kick on very much because your probe's on the floor. No problem. You're still getting that hot spot. However, if you have another enclosure that has vents and it's not getting the significant temperature differential, and it's going to heat this one more to make up the difference, this one here, once that one kicks on, might come up higher, which is going to cause some snakes to start to rub. So that is one of the factors that you want to check out. Do you have adequate space in between? I never put any kind of spacers in between my enclosures. I just take into consideration all of the heat panels. The one on the bottom is going to be the only one that's going to be somewhat accurate for reading. You know, this one here is going to catch heat off the bottom and the top, same all the way up. Take that into consideration when you're doing checking your heat. All right, as I look for my paraphernalia for enclosure cleaning, let's talk another way to subside a snake that might be rubbing or pushing. This right here, hides. If a snake feels insecure in a wide open enclosure, if it doesn't feel safe, it's going to try to get out and try to get to a place where it does feel safe. So that is another consideration. A lot of times you're going to have an animal that was bought from a breeder. That animal was kept in a tub, more than likely a smaller tub or a smaller environment than what it's used to. So all of a sudden you think, man, I'm doing so good. I'm putting this 4 or 5 foot retic in a 4x2 enclosure. It's going to love it. Guess what? It's not going to love it all that much, because it feels like it's out in the open and it's not going to feel secure in its environment. So you have to offer hides. Very good practice. Nothing wrong with putting 2 or 3 hides in an enclosure. You might be able to put one on the hot side, put one on the cool side, hell, put one in the middle. But offer that snake adequate hides so it would feel secure. It's also going to improve your snake and yourselves' relationship. Happy snake, happy keeper. So keep that in mind as well. Now, let's just say you have several hides in there. It's not really using the hides, but it's still rubbing. You check the temperatures, all the temps are good, the humidity is good. It's still pushing. All right, is it a genetic gene that is well known for pushing? Hell, don't know. There could be more of them. That right there was a golden child. I've never had an issue with golden childs up until this one is 2 years old. I've got a male that's about 3 or 4 years old that he's recently started pushing. But that's just because he is a proven breeder. And all he wants to do is get with the ladies. So, what do you do in that case? You have a male. He's in the same room with females. We've all heard it. Should we separate them? Should we turn them? Guys, I've got all my males and all my females in one room, yes, he would probably benefit from going to a separate room without any females in it. It really varies on the snake itself. There's no set rule. I've got 7 or 8 males that have never pushed, and they're in with all the females. Are they proven? No. So that might be your key. If you have a proven male, he's been pushing a lot because he's in the same room with a female, switch him out. Put him in a separate room, see if that helps. Okay, we've talked about the hides, we've talked about temperatures, we've talked about humidity. One other thing, and I started to get to this earlier, if you have a bunch of hides, she or he is not using the hides, it continues to push up against the glass, wedging its nose or snout down in here, then you have one other option. You take either a black piece of fabric, anything to black out at least half of this enclosure. You may have to black it all out. If it is completely blacked out, it may not rub anymore. That view from the front may give a certain snake that much insecurity, and it may start rubbing. Most of the people that have contacted me about their snakes pushing or rubbing, they have them in aquariums. And the first thing I ask them, do you have 3 sides blacked out? No, it's wide open. There's your problem. That's probably why that snake is pushing. It does not feel secure in that aquarium. So, what have we learned today? Pushing, either too hot, very common. If you're stacking, make sure you take into consideration the heat given off of the bottom heat panel, and measure that temperature several times. Look on your thermostat. Is your heat panel on when you're taking the temperature? Look at the bottom thermostat. Is that one on while you're taking the temperature? All those could factor into maybe, possibly, that enclosure getting a little bit too hot for your snake. However, most of the time, even with all of my heat panels on one side, this side still stays within the range of the cool side. So if that's the case, then we're talking about insecurities. Then we need to increase or actually place a hide in the enclosure, offer it some kind of security. And if that doesn't work, go ahead and do half of the enclosure, black it out either with a piece of fabric, a curtain, a black shirt, something that will black out one side. If that doesn't work, black it all out and see if it continues. If all that ceases to help, one other option, it's one that I've used myself, and that is going to a rack system. Some of these snakes feel much more comfortable in a rack system, in a tub. I mentioned earlier that we're buying these snakes from breeders that were raised in tiny tubs. They're more enclosed, they feel more secure. You get them home, you put them in a big open box, boom, they just start rubbing. So my recommendation is, if you can afford it, I'm not saying that everybody can, but the FB90 rack system from Freedom Breeders or any of the manufacturers that build these racks with the with the Freedom Breeder trays, they got the built-in water tray. It's awesome. Give that a try. And the reason I say the FB90s is because those are big enough to sustain a much larger snake. I've had them up to, I would say 9 or 10 feet in an FB90. So it'll last you a pretty good time. And also the temperature and humidity is a lot easier to maintain in a rack system. Some snakes just do better in rack systems. You have to figure out what your snake wants, what it's going to thrive in different environments, which one it's better and which one it feels more comfortable in. I had a snake that I purchased as a rescue, and this thing was nuts. I put it in the enclosure. It was just a 4x2. She was probably 4 to 5 feet big, long. Could not get close to that enclosure without her whacking the glass. I put hides in it. I smoked out one, the whole front of it. Could not get to her. I mean, you go to take her out, you better be on your toes because she was coming after you. She acted like that for at least 2 months, and I never could figure it out. And this is where the learning process of holding retics is. I said, you know what, the heck with it. I'm going to sell this snake. I'm going to use this enclosure for something else. And I put her in an FB90 tub in a rack system. Completely different snake. I was able to pull the drawer out, reach in, grab her. She was as docile as could be. Much, much better attitude because she felt secure in the tub. She's always been in a tub. She did not like being out in a wide open space as an enclosure. We all know a 5-foot snake in a 4-foot enclosure, you don't think that it's wide open like that, but it is to that snake. If you go out in the wild to find snakes, to find colubrids or rat snakes or king snakes or anything like that, you're going to be lifting rocks and they're going to be squeezed into a tiny little space. That's where they feel secure. No different from our snakes. However, you may have snakes that do fine and have no issue at all in a 4x2 enclosure, a 6x2, or even an 8x2. So you have to figure out what's best for your animal and what it prefers to be in. Is it a reason to give up on one? Absolutely not. You just have to figure it out. And we all know once we buy into the retic world, we all know that it could get a little costly. Doesn't have to be if you get the right one and it just everything works out, falls into place, which a majority of them do. But if you're like me, that the last 3 years were spent getting quality males and getting different females and building up my breeding facility, you're going to run across an animal that may not like big open spaces in an enclosure. You may have to go to a tub. So, notice there were no farting in this video. I don't think my animals made any other kind of obscene noises either. Hopefully this was beneficial for you. We're going to try to do a title on this that really speaks to the people like the last one did. Not sure why that made that much of a difference, but maybe this helped a majority of you guys. Again, if you have a snake that's rubbing, first and foremost, check your temperature, check your humidity, check your hides for it. Go with blacking out the front, and that very, very last thing is go ahead and try it in a tub. It might do better for you. Hopefully that helps. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any problems or questions, please let me know in the comments below. I appreciate each and every one of you watching, and we will see you again very soon. Peace out.